It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Wednesday, September 18th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Health is Happiness, the Evangelism Scripts Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And yes, it is Wednesday already, middle of the week. It is the 18th of September. I can't believe we're getting so close into this. Like how deep we are into September. Of course, next week, very special day. My spiritual birthday is on September 22nd. I'm so stupid sometimes. I can't believe I even bring this stuff up. I'm just doing it for the sake of me doing it, right? So, yeah. I hope you guys have had an awesome week. It's already the 18th. Basically, by the end of this week, we'll already be done the three weeks of September, and next week will be like our last week, and we're going to already be heading into October, so that's kind of crazy, but very, very happy and excited. Don't forget, guys, we have Q&A Thursday every single week, so get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can, and if you haven't yet, for today's video, leave a like and comment to build our community. So I am just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive, so let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title, there are two: Speak Knowing the Will of God, the Fundamental Being, and Condition and Reward, Sin and Punishment. All right. So there was one thing I did want to check on the Friday podcast. Was it the Monday podcast? Which one's the one that we had? Yeah. When I was in Wollongong, we have 47 likes for that one. We're trying to hit 100 just to see if we can get 100 likes for that Monday podcast. If you haven't done it yet, just kind of mosey on over there and hit that like button. We're at 47. I think the most we've gotten is like 55 or 60, something along that line. So if you haven't done it yet, go ahead, click that like button to get that to at least over 50, and then we can see if we get to 60 or 70 later on. All right. So I hope that everyone yesterday had an amazing and awesome Chuseok. For me, it's still Chuseok, but it's kind of later in the evening. I am just exhausted. It's been a while since I've really wanted to sleep in the middle of the day. Like, it's been a long, long time since I've had that type of tiredness, and that was what it was like today. And it wasn't because there was a ton of things to do. It was the sun. The sun was crazy blazing. I'll just tell you some of the things. Some of the things that happened today. I had a really moving, inspiring, and good time. And I know a lot of people, Westerners out there, they don't really have a Chuseok. So, yeah, and it doesn't kind of really matter to you guys out there because it's like a regular day for you. But I know that there's some Koreans listening to this podcast, and there's also people from other Asian countries that do get this day off too. But those of you in Western countries, yeah, I hope you had a wonderful Tuesday? I don't even know. There's just nothing special about this day for you guys over there. I know in Malaysia, I think, is it September 15th or 16th is like, not the Independence. What's the other one? It's like Malaysia Day, I believe. It's like the 15th or the 16th. So it is a holiday for Malaysians. And I know that that's why a lot of Malaysians are coming to Korea during this time right now too. I think like almost 100 of them are coming, which is awesome. To see that many people come being inspired and moved by this, I think that's really awesome. But yeah, it was nice to see. This is the first time for me to see when foreigners first come to Wollongong, what's the first thing that they do? Like other times I was like dropping in the middle of the tour. It was busy with here and there, so I wasn't able to see what the beginning of a tour actually looks like. But it was really nice to see how foreigners and how IMD has made it for foreigners to begin their trip. And it started it started by giving glory to God. So there's like a stage set up right in front of the grass lawn, and all these foreigners, about 30, 40 of them, came today. Well, it would be yesterday for you guys, and they gave glory to God. They sang They sang praises. One of the countries actually did a performance with the dance, and then there was a time of prayer. It was just really good to see how different Providence really is. Where we first come, and the first thing we want to do is greet God. The first thing we want to do is give glory to God. So for me, I thought that was really amazing, and it just kind of really, once again, made me look at Providence in a new light. Well, not a new light, but a refreshing light. Like, this is us. We are different from the world. We really are. So I really thought that was an amazing beginning to the trip for these countries that came. And I think it's something that only, like, I think is only done in Providence, right? How many other places actually have like a holy land and stuff like that too? I don't think it's very many, right? But I thought it was very, very awesome. It was Chuseok, and because everyone went home to their families, it was quite empty. But it's just really nice to be out there. But man, was it hot. Even the Giving Glory was at like 9 a.m. and it was already like 27, 28, 29. It kept going up and up, and it was stinging hot. So imagine giving praise and singing, sweating out in the sun. But of course, you're giving glory to God. Most of the Koreans are gone, so Wonmyeong was quite empty. But it was just really nice to be there. Really nice to be there. That first giving glory to God. And then after that, there was a time where they actually rented out like the Korean traditional hanbok, which is the Korean traditional dress that they have, and people put them on, and they went around Wonmyeong taking pictures and stuff like that too, and that was also out in the sun. And then we went to go eat lunch, and every Chuseok they make this like rice cake soup. It's called tteokguk. And the cafeteria made it, and everyone got to eat this. So that was really cool to see. And after we had lunch, we had games, like the traditional Korean games that are played during Chuseok, and I found that to be super awesome, amazing too. I really did. Just spending the time with the foreigners, playing games, laughing, joking around, playing traditional games, we played charades, but we played charades using Sunseem's proverbs, charades using like biblical figures and 30 lessons and stuff like that too. So that was really fun also, but it was all done outside. So you can't imagine that by the time it hit like okay. And at the very, very end, okay, so before we ended, like all the games and such ended at around 3 o'clock, and then we went to the small service area and we watched a video of Sunseem, and it was just this awesome compilation of like several years of Sunseem during Chuseok, like I think 2018, 2019, and 2020, I think. And it was just an awesome compilation. Several years of Sunseem during Chuseok time, giving education, excerpts from sermons, fun things that people did on Chuseok together with Sunseem. And it was really, it was very moving to see, even though, he wasn't there live. It was just amazing to see him on the screen. I was really, really moved and touched by that too. And when it came time to watch the video, it was awesome because like everyone came in to see that video. Like the small sanctuary was like packed. And there's one part that I found to be very moving was Sunseem said in the video that on Chuseok is the time when you go and chase your family, right? You go and find your family to be with them. Other times, during the year, people are busy, this and that are happening. But on Chuseok, this is the time you go and chase down your family, go and see them, make sure that you get FaceTime with them too. And then it after Sansi gave that part of the sermon, or like the education on Chuseok, it went to it cut away to Sansi with his family in Wolmyeongdong at God's Path, near the prayer hill, in front of the prayer hill, and Sansi was taking pictures with his family, his whole family together, taking pictures at God's Path. So, I was so moved by it because Sansi. I think a lot of times we interpret what the Bible or what Sansim says in a wrong way. Like we become too extreme with it. And I did talk about this a couple of weeks ago when when the Bible says something like, if you want to, the cost of being a disciple, you have to hate your mother, hate your father, hate your brothers and sisters and stuff like that too. And we talk about giving our life for Christ and putting God number one. And a lot of times we kind of misunderstand that. We kind of think that means to throw away your family. And some people we just get extreme about it. And when you think about it, the way Sansim talks about family, the way he treats his family is very, very different. And for me, I loved watching Sansim with his family, and him and Sansim talking about how important the time it is to be with your family. And when I heard Sansim talk about that, and we know how much Sansim loves his mother and his father, like so dearly, I was thinking like, man, it's Chuseok. Yesterday was Chuseok, the time he goes to chase his family down, and he can't, how much would he want to just go and meet his family at this time? Everyone's getting old. Everyone's reaching that type of age, right? And, I was really praying and hoping that, Sansim, I really, really hope that your family was able to go and see you at this time. Like, I think it would be cruel to not let his family see him on this holiday. Like, for anyone, even in prison, I think that they would all get a chance to see their family at that time also. So just listening to Sansim, knowing how important it is for families to get together on this type of holiday. And remember, there's only two major holidays in Korea. It is Chuseok, and the other one is like the Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year. Like those two are the big, big times, right? But it made me miss my family. Of course, I miss my family. But more than this, it really made me understand, this is how important this day is in Korea. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I went to go pick up some friends from the bus station too, and man, the roads were packed. Like it took a drive that takes about 45 minutes took about an hour and 20 minutes because there's like a lot of traffic out there too. But I'm sure most of the Westerners out there just kind of live your day as normal since it's not a real holiday over there. But how about those of you guys in Asia? Is it only Korea that really celebrates Chuseok, this Harvest Moon Festival, or is it everyone else? And is it that big? That's the one thing I'm really curious about, right? Because I know that there's a ton of people from Asia that listen to this podcast, right? And also during Chuseok, there was like I said, 130 people that came from Asia on the day of Chuseok. And those 130 people are not even including Taiwan and Japan. So it's way more than that. So it was a really, really good time. It was. And spending time with the foreigners, I found that to be very, I don't know if this sounds like, I don't want to say it like, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is like, it feels like, ooh, that's my family. I don't know if you guys ever feel that. Sorry, guys. I am walking around my house right now. And if you can hear the echo, it's because I just went to the bathroom to throw something away. But did it get very echoey there? I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't be walking around too much as I do this. And you know what? I should be recording this in Wolmyeongdong though. I should, right? Maybe tomorrow, for tomorrow's like Thursday podcast, I'll go and record something in. I'll try to record something on. I'll try to record something for in Wolmyeongdong for the next one. I'll try my best. Okay, but either way, so yeah, I was really inspired, and it really felt like just being with members, foreign members. It really felt like I was with family, just having a good time and fun. I really enjoyed it. Right, the countries that were there, really, really fun, and just had a good time together. Guys, today today is actually the Rebel Pastor podcast. I did have time to do it. I did have time to do it last week. And even though the Malaysians and my editors are now going to be in Korea, I made sure to get this done. So I'm hoping that many people, you guys will enjoy this one. And this is a really cool one. I talk about Jesus' second coming. And I actually talking about, the reason I brought this up is because I'm not sure if you guys know this really, really famous Christian pastor. His name is Francis Chan. Okay? And, I like him. I like the way he speaks and stuff too. But I was watching one of his YouTube shorts, and the link is on the Rebel Pastor, but he has this, in this YouTube short, he starts to talk about things that we teach. Now, what is that? He talks about the 1,000-year millennium that's talked about in Revelation chapter 20. And he talks about it in terms of, it's been 6,000 years. And every 2,000 years, someone great comes. So he's like, in this YouTube short, he says, from Adam to Abraham was 2,000 years. Abraham to Jesus was 2,000 years. Jesus until now has been 2,000 years. And we're waiting for the Lord's second coming. And we're waiting for like the last 1,000-year reign. So he actually teaches what we're teaching. And I thought that was quite exciting to listen to that. And that's why I wanted to get into that, because it's basically what Sunseam teaches. And I went a little bit more deeper into it, and I hope that Francis Chan will actually listen to this part of it. But I think it's awesome because Sunseam talked about this in the past. Sunseam said that in the future, people are going to start teaching pieces of, the 30 lessons. And what's basically happening is what we teach is becoming normalized. And what's good about that is, like, we might think to ourselves, oh, is that a good thing? Because then, it's not going to have as much impact. But no. It's going to be good. It will be a good thing. Why? Because when it becomes mainstream, we're not going to sound so crazy. We're going to be normalized. And when we say it, people are not going to reject it because they're going to be like, oh, Francis Chan said this. Oh, and this pastor said this too. Right? So it'll be something where it becomes normalized, and we'll look at it and say, this is what's going. Oh, okay, this is what's happening here, kind of thing, right? So for me, I was like, this is a good thing. It really is, right? So I am going to do this. It's going to start. The live premiere is going to start. This podcast comes out at like 5:30 a.m. in Korea, which means in about 4 hours and 30 minutes, the YouTube premiere is going to come out, right? So I'm excited and happy about this too. That's don't forget, that is going to be the Rebel Pastor podcast. It is coming out very, very soon, right? In a couple of hours. I had this interesting email that someone sent to me, and they were asking about. I'm not sure why they're called C songs, but maybe it's because they're under they are considered not like Sunseam songs, but they are songs that members have made. Right? And of course, we know what happened last year with KJS. And then a lot of those songs, like almost all the songs that either she sang or that were created at her time, they were deleted or removed from YouTube. Right? So, and this person was saying, yeah, I know that some of these songs were sung by KJS, but maybe not composed by her. And, and this person's like, oh, but there were so many wonderful and amazing songs that were not voiced over by her that are removed or not sung anymore. Like, for example, the song Learn From Me, right? So the question is this is asking more of my personal opinion, which is the removal of these songs necessary, or is it because it is better to not be reminded of all the suffering and the hurt that is being caused in 2023? That's why all these songs that were kind of related to KJS or to El Jung or whatever it is, right? Are they the ones being cut away? Just like how, like the example they used is like a limb being amputated, right? And, this is my personal opinion on it because, we haven't heard Sunseam talk about it directly, but we can kind of see the direction that is happening right now. And I would say that is one of the things that made me think deeper about this subject that this person said, because this person sent me this question probably a couple days ago. And one thing in the message Sunseam talks about is, we have to always look at things from both sides, right? Not just from one side, but from the other side also. And I thought to myself, as like, well, what the heck is the other side then? So if I were to think about the other side, what is the other side? And I realize that the other side is heaven's side. So there's a human side and the heaven side. And I think what this person wrote is makes sense, right? Some of these songs were wonderful, amazing songs, and they were not from. I'm guessing some of them were not from El Jung or not from KJS or maybe people that left or something else along that line, right? Is it really necessary to remove these songs? And I would say that on one side, it's true. These songs were inspiring. Some of these songs were very, very good. And I think a lot of us would agree with that too. And coming from the earthly side, from our personal perspective, this listener also brought up is like, or is it better to not be reminded of all the suffering and the hurt that is being caused in 2023? Right? Like, is this kind of the reasoning behind it? My personal feeling is this. My personal feeling is if there was someone, you got to think about it like this. Imagine there's a breakup, right? Imagine there's someone you loved with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then they broke up with you or they did something terrible. They cheated on you, whatever it is, right? Now, here's someone that hurt you so immensely. And imagine imagine that you and this person that you loved had a song. And it's not even a song that they made. It's just the song that that's kind of considered our song. Like this is a song that you as a couple, that's like your song. And the interesting thing is that after you break up, and if it's done in a really, really harsh way, when that song comes out again, you don't want to listen to it. And even though the person who wrote the song didn't write it with the intent to hurt you. And this person didn't write it with the intent to make it your song. It's just a song that was made and you made it yours. And because that song was your song during the time you were together and this person broke up with you or cheated on you or did something so bad to you, even though the song wasn't even made by your lover, it hurts and you don't want to listen to it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's one way you can actually look at it, right? You look at it and say, even though you didn't write the song, like just at the time of like KJS or the other guy, El Jung, who was like writing the songs, maybe someone else wrote another song too that wasn't sung, but it's because it comes from that time and the pain is very strong, right? And I would say that from our perspective, we could kind of balance it out and say, well, but they're really good. And maybe when they made the songs, they really were inspired by the Holy Spirit, right? So when they left, of course, they no longer believed and they're not really deeply with the Holy Spirit and whatnot, right? But when they were making the song, they were inspired. So wouldn't that still be considered the Holy Spirit? So we can reason out all these things, right? But when I think about, what about the other side? What about the other side? And the other side that I think about is the heaven side. And I thought to myself, because especially this week's message also, this week's Sunday message talked about the suffering that the heavens are going through right now. And a lot of times we're too busy thinking only about our own suffering or the things that we think in our minds. But ultimately, in the end, we do want to prioritize what the heavens think more than what we think, right? So when I start to think about the other side is how much more are the heavens hurt by what happened in 2023? All those songs, all the things that kind of even reminds God and such. And I thought to myself is, if my heart is set on the heavens as my number one priority, there's a couple of things that I would never want is for God to be hurt. And regardless if I like something or not, if I truly, truly loved and I saw someone getting hurt that I really love, I think I would have a hard time like continually doing something even though it was okay with me. If I really, really loved. Like, I'm thinking about the flip side of, wow, I wonder how much the heavens are suffering. Because one thing that, do you guys remember the Jesus and John the Baptist story, right? The related missions of Jesus and John the Baptist, great lecture, right? And one of the times Sunseem talked about this, how did he talk about this story? But it goes something like this. Imagine there's parents and a child. And one day, he hears, the child hears the parents fighting. And when he walks in the room, he hears the father yelling at his mother, saying, "Get out of here. We're getting a divorce. I never want to see you again." Right? And, and that was the point when the mother left. Right? And, this child is really, really young, but gets traumatized from it. And what eventually happens is this child begins to resent their father for, basically breaking up the family. And now that the family doesn't have a lot of money and they, they can't really get the things that they want. But when the mom and dad were together, they had more money and the mom made so much money, this, and this. And the child begins to resent the father. And as a teenager, the child just acts up against the father so much, just hates the father for kicking out the mother and making the divorce happen, right? And, one day, the mother gets remarried, right? And the mother gets remarried, and this child loves their mom so much too, right? And when the mother gets remarried, basically the child's like, "Oh, look, I got a new dad," right? Because this child doesn't even like their own dad. And one day the mother gives the child a necklace, and in the necklace, she's so happy. It's a really expensive necklace and stuff. And this child is so happy that they'll take a picture of the child with his mother and put it on the mantle so that it's shown everywhere in the house. And the father would come home and see it, and then he just kind of goes along with his day, right? And one day the child is hanging out with the father's best friend, one of his good friends. He's like kind of the uncle to this child, and this child kind of starts complaining again, like, "Man, we don't have any money because of this, because my dad broke up with, my dad divorced my mom, and this, and this, and I can't believe this," kind of thing. "Oh, I can't stand my dad." And the best friend's like, "What? Wait, you don't know? You don't know what happened?" And the child's like, What do you mean? What do you mean?" He's like, "You don't know that your mother cheated on your father 5 times. Your dad was so hurt that by the 5th time he couldn't take it anymore, and that's when you saw him ask for the divorce." And this is when the eyes of the child opens up and he just starts to feel guilty. Because here he hated his dad for so long, and even put a picture of the mother up on the mantle in the house so the father could see it. But the father said nothing about it, right? And the reason I bring this story up is because, we have to understand sometimes is God is like that father that when he sees the picture of the mother up on the mantle, there's a lot of pain, but the father doesn't say anything because the child just doesn't know any better, right? And Sunseem talked about this in the same way of the cross, because we don't know the real meaning of the cross and how much suffering it really was. But here we have all the people for the last 2,000 years putting crosses on their necklaces and their keychains and crosses as tattoos and such. But it's one of the most horrific things that Jesus actually went through. But he puts up with it because the children just don't know enough. And I think that I don't want to be in that situation where if the heavens don't like it and the heavens are hurt so deeply by it, I don't want to be the one that's putting these pictures up all over the house And there it is. There's my father just in pain by himself kind of thing, right? So I would say that I would kind of think about it in that way. Right, that's kind of my personal opinion on this. So I don't know if that really helps you guys or not, but that's my personal opinion on it. So I want to think about like, what do the heavens think? And of course, what I think is important too, but I think what's most important is how does God take it? And what does God think about this situation too? And yeah, sometimes it doesn't even matter who wrote it. It's just, it just came at the wrong time. And it just reminds you too much of that person, that hurt and that pain and stuff like that too. So that would be my thoughts on it. I'm not sure about you guys, so just let me know what you guys think about that too. But that's my personal feeling on it. Either way, okay. So yeah, lots of things to think about and talk about. It is a very, very tiring and crazy Chuseok day. I said, well, the end of the day for me, just recording this for you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this podcast really well. Before we get into the Evangelism Scripts word study, let's move into the first music break of the day.
Yeah, rise up to the challenge, armed with the word in action, belt to the truth, fasten, shield of faith in one hand, sword of the spirit I'm slaying, no mercy I'm praying, everyone thinks I lost, but now I'm turning Super Saiyan, I gotta be new, gotta be great, I only gotta win this thing, fixing mistakes, fix who I am, all I wanna do is change, gotta be brave, gotta be tough, no more time for delaying, it's just training, all those times of pain, off, pushing my limits, only with God, I'm trying to be better, I'm trying to feel God, enemies watching, they want you to fall, but you have to be better, you have to give it your all, every day I make myself, but I know it's not easy, this is the life I chose and I know my spirit's breathing, the battle has only begun and I may take damage, but if I fall, all I know how to do one thing, rise up to the challenge, armed with the word in action, belt to the truth, fasten, shield of faith in one hand, sword of the spirit I'm slaying, no mercy I'm praying, everyone thinks I lost, but now I'm turning Super Saiyan, I'm Goku turning Super Saiyan, I'm charged up, now I'm playing, on the mount like Sinai, I connect with God like Wi-Fi, receive the word, always praying, spiritual path where I'm staying, everyone thinks I lost, but I'm always with him, so you know I'm prevailing, protecting myself from Satan, armed with the truth, now my angels will shoot like, now I'm at my truest form, I'm trying to really be the greatest, the power level can't contain it, my energy is never draining, look how far we have made it, unlocking levels never hesitated, there's no try, you either just do it or don't, so fix your thoughts instead, everybody makes mistakes, just gotta take notes, can afford to do it again, life is so easy, if you just do what is right and just follow what's real, victory comes through skill, gotta stay on course, time to kill. Time to rise and shine, thinking of the past and never forget. God is Lord, by your side, holding your hand, dry your eyes, trust in the Lord every night and day. He'll never let you go, don't fall away. Be bold, be brave, and with all your heart, love the Lord to the end of time. Rise up to the challenge, armed with the word in action, held to the truth, fasten, shield of faith in one hand, sword of the spirit I'm slaying, no mercy I'm praying. Everyone thinks I lost, but I'm turning Super Saiyan.
All right, so let's get into today's Evangelism Scripts word study. And, we've kind of been doing a little bit different direction, kind of doing some education for evangelism. But I was having a really, really good conversation with a member from Australia, and we were talking about lecturing. And, when we look at evangelism, there's always 3 stages, right? The most important, I don't know, it really depends on what stage that person's in. Because lecturing is not really that important if you don't even have someone to lecture, which means in stage 1, the most important thing is there someone who can you grab someone and bring them to the word? Like that would be the most important thing, because without that, lecturing and management means nothing, because there's no one to manage and no one to lecture. However, after you evangelize them, then probably the second stage, or the biggest thing that is important at that time, is going to be lecturing. And that's the one that I wanted to kind of talk about today. And they were asking me about this lecture training program that I've done before in the past. And I do lecture training. I did it like 2 or 3 times, and it's not easy. It is quite stressful because you do need to study. You do need to put in a lot of work. Like, let me give an example. When I did lecture training, there's a couple things that I realized that must happen in order to get someone to really, really learn and to do really well in anything, right? Number one is it has to be of value, okay? Now, of course, when you start a lecture training, you don't know the value of it until you listen to it, right? So it's kind of like you're with faith, you're going into it like, okay, I'm going to try this out, and I'm going to put my faith into this lecture training. But then remember, it's a two-way relationship. And I'm going to tell you guys this. This is not something that some of you might disagree with me, but I would say that it would have to be something that the person who's taking the lecture training will pay for. That for me is I feel that people will value it more if they actually pay for it, right? So let me give an example. People can work out at home, but they won't. They'd rather pay money and go to the gym. And when they pay money, they feel like they have to go to it, right? So there's got to be this reciprocal thing going on, right? So that person has to put faith into it. And I would say that for a good lecture training program, for any program, someone should pay for it. You should be paying for it, okay? Now, of course, it's another question if the program really sucks. Like, if it's a terrible program, you'd be like, I can't believe I wasted my money, right? But let's just say that it's not a bad program. So what kind of program would actually really, really work well, right? And this is something that I advocate even for, like, say, seminary, and also for like leaders training and stuff like that too. I know that there's leaders training going on with like Sunseed's videos and stuff. And it's interesting because when I hear about the program, like, it comes out every 3 weeks, and there's no tests or there's no this or that, right? So what happens is you're just listening to it every 3 weeks. And for me, that's not consistent enough. Every 3 weeks is way too, the gap is way too long, right? So I would say that just like school, you would need to do it like twice a week or minimum once a week, right? So if it was like the leaders training that Sunseed does, what do you call it? Sunseed does, he does like 70 things that leaders should be equipped with. I would sit there and I would break it down into pieces. And I'm not saying break it down into pieces of like, each episode. No, I'd even break up the episodes. And I'd say, look, let's just put him, if it's going to be a total of 6 hours, right? Then I would break it into 6 pieces. Like it'd be a 6-part series. And you could probably make it into a 7 or 8-part series, depending on your quizzes and tests and stuff like that too. But it's got to be something that's more consistent. So even for me, when I do lecture training, I highly recommend twice a week. Twice a week, right? And this program would last for 3 months, right? And what I would say is this. You do this program, it's twice a week, and it's intensive. And there is something to lose. For instance, when I do lecture training, if you miss 3 classes, you're out. And I really don't care. You're out. There's no favors. You're out. Of course, there's always special case circumstances that, we cannot help. Just like, honestly, if, someone dies in the family or something like that, obviously that is something that we have to take into consideration. But if it's just, I couldn't make it this, 3 and you're out. I also have like a minimum standard of your scores on your quizzes and tests. There's a quiz every class. Every class. And every class, we go over a different 30 lesson. And every class, I'll do usually around 5 verses that you need to memorize by the next class. And which basically means that, so if I do the first class, I have 5 verses to memorize. 3 days later, I have a quiz on those 5 verses. Then go into another study and I have another 5 verses to memorize for the next one. And then the next class, I'll be quizzed on the 10 verses that I should know. And then each class is constantly adding in like 5 verses. So think about this. If it's going to be 3 months, 3 months is what, 12, 13 weeks, right? Let's say it's 12 weeks. That's times 2 classes, 24 times 5, which means you're going to be memorizing. By the time you get to the final exam, you need to memorize 120 Bible verses word for word. Pretty much word for word. And my quizzes are not like fill in the blanks. Well, some of it is fill in the blanks, but it even has to go with your understanding of the Bible verse itself, right? I'll ask a question, which verse would you use for this? We'll go, there's like, when you get to the final is like 250 questions, including an oral examination. It's that crazy. You know what I mean? So what I would say is, I even have a midterm. There's a midterm, there's a final, there's a quiz every single class. You have to keep a 75% grade, right? So when you think about it, it's something when I look at it, it's like, yeah, this is something that I want to do it in a serious way. I will never be late. And for every 3 lates, you get, it counts as missing a class. And that's kind of having to do with respect. Respecting of the teacher and the teacher respecting the students, that both of them will not be late, kind of thing, right? Also, on top of it, they have homework every single class where we make a YouTube channel and they have to record. They record and put it onto a private YouTube channel. And on that private YouTube channel, everyone else gets to watch your video of how you explain something, and they'll grade you out of 5. So think about this. That is intensive. You're going to be learning and studying constantly. If you do it every 3 weeks, you're going to forget by the 3rd week everything that you heard from that lesson, right? And that's why, for me, whether it's seminary, whether it's leaders training, it can't be a once-in-a-month thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me, because you're not really going to learn. You're going to forget most of the things. It's better to do it where you have all the videos, make it into a series, right? So it's going to be a 7-week series, leaders training, or I would say that if all the lecture Sunsim gives they're usually going to be around 2 hours. I would split them up into 2 or 3 and make it into like a 15-part series as an actual class type of thing, so that people can learn really well. Because one thing I've seen absolutely 100% for sure in evangelism, your lecturer changes everything. That's how big the lecture it is. The lecturer will change everything. If you have a great lecturer, people are going to pass more. People are going to be excited to come to Bible study. People are going to want to come to Bible study even more. You want a dynamic and great lecturer, and that becomes a key cog in your evangelism cycle. If you don't have a good lecturer, and I'm talking, I think it should be great and powerful lecturer. That's what I feel, right? And I do feel like it's something that we have to practice and learn. It's not a script. It is inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Because, one thing that I've learned when I did sales is when you're trying to sell something, you'll have like these bullets, meaning you have these amazing key points that will bring people to want to buy something. But you never use all your bullets at once. You save bullets. So you give them like if you have 5 points, you give them 1 or 2 to really attract them. And then when they ask a question, you're like, well, did you know that we also, boom, boom, and you hit them with other bullets constantly. And they begin to like, whoa, that's so great. And they want to do it more. They want to realize, they want to understand even that much better too, right? So I'm telling you guys that lecturing is one of the key and most important things. It really, really is. It's something that I look at and I'm like, wow, that is amazing. That is awesome kind of thing, right? So I would say that, if we want to have real training, like say lecture training, it's got to be real training. It's not this mishmash of, everyone will do it every once in a while. It is serious. And for me, I do think that the one class I would do is for people that are already lecturing. There's one that I would do is people already lecturing, and that's like a much more deeper look into the Bible study. And then, of course, you'll have the beginners lecture training too, which is a little bit different also. But yeah, that is something that I would definitely suggest, and not making it something so easy or something that's, that there's no holding anyone account. You have to hold people accountable. You got to give tests. There's got to be a pass or a fail. It can't just be as long as you do it. Oh, you didn't do the homework, it's okay. No. I remember this one time that I was an advisor for one of the seminaries, and I thought having an advisor was amazing and awesome thing that that seminary did. But the hard part was it didn't really help for most cases, because I found that it was very hard to meet their advisors, because their advisors were head leaders and HQ and stuff like that. And not only was it hard, it was so random. And that's why even for me, when I became an advisor, I was like, hey, if you want me to really, really be a good advisor to you, we are meeting every single week. We're gonna go over your homework, and we're gonna, talk about the word and this and this. Same every week, same day, same time. And that's when it becomes a benefit. But if it's like, oh yeah, you got an advisor, but there's no controlling of how many times the advisor meets and such. And what I found that was really lame about this one time we did seminary is like they had homework and stuff, and people are not checked on their homework, which makes it like not valuable. And then the next thing that was really bad was later on they said you don't even have to do the homework. So I'm like, what kind of seminary is this if you don't even have homework? Like if you don't even have something you actually have to do, right? And I am a huge advocate of lecture training, or any trainings to be done in such a proper and intensive way, because that's how people actually learn. And one of the parts that I found, like I did lecture training for America during the pandemic. And one of the worst parts about doing it during the pandemic is, well, if you do lecture training, one of the hardest parts is, well, not the hardest parts, one of the parts that benefits you the most is if you're lecturing, you can use it right away, right? You can use it right away if you're lecturing. However, right? However, if you are, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. During the pandemic, there was no newcomers. So even though I did lecture training, people couldn't put it into action. And because they couldn't put it into action, what happened? You don't benefit from lecture training. Lecture training must be done while people are already lecturing at that moment, at that time, kind of thing. So, yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up. And I'm like, you know what? Number one is people should pay. And not something small like $1 a month. Why? Because there's no value. It shows that the value is that bad, which means they're not going to treat it properly and they're not going to do it well. What I would say is, got to give it a good amount where they're going to be like, ooh, if I miss this, look at the money that I'm wasting, kind of thing like that, So that's one thing I would do. And the other thing is, it would be intensive. It would be something that people are meeting constantly, every single week, 1 to 2 times a week. That's what I would do. The one I did before was like 1 time a week. And it was 1 time a week for 6 months. But I would prefer 2 times a week for 3 months. I think that's far better, in my opinion. But either way, that's kind of what I want to talk about when it comes to my evangelism word study, or just about evangelism in general, especially lecturing. If you guys have anything that, things you want to add, or things that you think, or your thoughts on it, let me know. Would love to hear what you think about this also. Okay? Either way, that is the end of today's evangelism word study. Hope you guys enjoyed that, especially when we talk about lecturing. Which means before we get into health is happiness, let's get into the final music break of the day.
Sincerely I pray, please forgive all my sins. Please forgive me, please don't leave my side. Take me as your own. treasure through love, and for all time I will live always by your side, and for all time I will live always by your
Okay, so let's get into today's final segment on this Wednesday podcast. And every Wednesday, we do have Health is Happiness. And today, we're going to go into a second part of functional, what do you call this? Functional, one second. It's called Functional Health Advice for People in their 50s and above, which has to do with health checkups, functional assessments, and services available. And this is by Yuan Yu over there in Singapore. I hope you guys will really enjoy this. And remember, starting from October, we're going to have praise and music education too by Pastor Rung Jo over there in Taiwan. And he's going to give a lot of education that's given by Sunsteam too. Right? Either way, let's get into today's Health is Happiness with, what was I going to say? Oh, please welcome Yuan Yu from Singapore with Health is Happiness.
Hello everyone, my name is Yuan Yu. I'm from Singapore and I'm finishing up my studies in physiotherapy. For today's topic on Health is Happiness, I'll talk a bit more about the health functional assessments, health checkups, as well as any services available that are more catered towards those in their 50s and above. I'd like to thank the Holy Trinity, Pastors Guy and Julius, for this opportunity, and without further ado, I'll begin. Firstly, I'll talk a bit more about population aging trends. The worldwide population is progressively aging, and the number of people aged 60 and above was at 380 million in 1980s worldwide, and this number doubled in 2017 with 960 million people. And this number is expected to double again by 2050, where it is projected to reach nearly 2.1 billion. The main causes for an aging population trend is the improvement in survival as well as decline in fertility. Then, knowing this, what is the importance of managing ourselves when we age? Increasing age is associated with increasing disability, healthcare needs, and costs. Physical ill health and disability are the most consistent factors for depression later in life. With this in mind, what reports actually suggest that rather than the illness per se, it is the illness resulting in other functional limitations that include social limitations in your social participation and meaningful relationships, which means that because you fall ill, then you're not able to walk around as freely as you are, which limits your participation in social activities and maintaining meaningful relationships around you. And that is a bigger risk factor for depression and other mental health issues later on in life. On the flip hand, knowing this, of course, one big thing that can help counter aging and help us to age successfully is physical activity. Physical activity provides benefits for people over the age of 60 for a range of outcomes, including overall health, reducing disease risk, and improving mood. In terms of our physical health, we know that in aging, our bone density as well as muscle mass decreases gradually over time. And muscle mass decreases approximately 3 to 8% per decade after the age of 30. And this rate of decline is even higher after the age of 60. And this aspect of muscle mass reduction is a big contributor to disability and physical decline in their function in older people. However, with physical activity, even just 2 sessions a week can bring significant improvements in bone mass density and muscle mass, which means that just by doing 2 sessions a week, it can maintain and prevent this natural decline. And if we do it consistently enough for a period of time, it can improve the bone mass density and muscle mass. I'd like to share another 2 qualitative studies done on what does successful aging mean. One of them is a qualitative interview done among the seniors in Singapore with about 1,500 plus residents. So among the components in the survey, what was highest rated as successful aging includes being happy, being physically mobile, being free of diseases, being able to continue working, being independent in life, being able to engage in social activity. But of course, for this study, some of its limitations include, since it's being carried out only in Singapore, then its results cannot be generalized to other nations, even in Asia. There is this other study, which is a systematic review on 26 articles, and these articles include both the Asian countries as well as the Western nations. And it's a study about the lay perspectives of successful aging. In the results, what the key perspectives include: being socially engaged, having a positive outlook on life, independence in terms of physical components like physical function. Which means that, summarizing from these 2 articles, important factors include being physically healthy, having independence, and being socially engaged with others. And of course, while it differs between individual to individual on which factors are more important, what I'll share about in this segment is maintaining independence in one's functional mobility and how we can do that. With independence, one is able to do the things he or she enjoys, but without independence, one may need to rely on the assistance of others when you go out. One may need to rely on walking aids. And if you imagine this, right, how different it is if, let's say, you want to go to the nearby food place to get lunch or to get dinner, but you're unable to do it on your own and you need to wait for a family member to assist you, or you need to always rely on a walking aid. In that sense, physical independence, it's a bit, helps us have a lot of freedom in our life and helps us to move around a lot more easily. As a general rule of thumb, within exercise, there are 2 big components. One is aerobic exercise and one is strengthening exercise, which I believe most of us are familiar with. And according to the ACSM guidelines, the American College Sports Medicine guidelines, the recommended dosage would be about 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity a week, or 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity physical activity a week, of which at least 2 days are dedicated to strengthening exercises. One more component, which is especially relevant to older adults, is balance, because this component tends to be overlooked when we're younger, as balance is not much of an issue, and only when we get older then we find that, when we're walking around it doesn't feel as steady, or we tend to have near falls or even have falls because of our lack of balance. So besides, now that we know that exercise is important, there's aerobic, there's strengthening, and there's balance, then what are some resources available? One is, of course, doing it on your own, whereby you can search up for many exercise resources on YouTube, on Instagram, and there are many of these resources online. And besides doing them on your own, you can also check to see if your neighborhood, your region, or your nation offers exercise classes or initiatives. So at least in Singapore, we do have a health initiative called Healthy 365, and it's a mobile application which helps put together and summarize the free exercise classes in each neighborhood. And these include things like yoga, Zumba, HIIT. And this is an initiative that the government did in the recent years. And for balance exercises, so of course, besides searching it up, some easy ones that you can do are balancing for 10 seconds to 2 minutes with your feet together, or you can make it more difficult by doing a tandem stance whereby one foot is in front of the other and your toes are in contact with your heel of the other foot. Another harder variation is standing on one leg, and another one is walking heel to toe in a straight line forwards or backwards if you want to make it harder. And of course, when you do these balance exercises, if you know that you're not very steady and you might lose your balance easily, then do it beside a stable surface like a back of a chair, a table, a wall, so that you can grab onto that if you were to lose your balance. And for the last part, I'll talk about when does someone need to seek a medical professional. There's this clinical state called frailty, which is characterized by enhanced vulnerability to internal or external stresses, meaning that, in other words, it is often described as a transitional phase between successful aging and disability. When an older person has noticeable changes in one of these symptoms, then they should be considered for a more thorough assessment and follow-up with rehab. These signs and symptoms include falls, meaning let's say your legs give way, you lose your balance, and then you collapse onto the ground. Another one includes reduced mobility, which means your legs or your hands or your body just has reduced a significant reduction in strength and you feel much weaker. Another one includes delirium, which is an acute state of confusion, whereby someone has sudden worsening of confusion and memory loss, whether it's short-term memory loss or long-term memory loss. Another one is incontinence, whereby someone has difficulty in using the toilet in passing urine or passing motion. And the last one is susceptibility to side effects on medication. So let's say you take medication, normally you don't get these side effects, but when you take you feel that when you take the same medication, you are a lot more susceptible to the side effects. And of course, these side effects are specific to the medications that you're taking. So with this, I've come to the end of the sharing. Hope that everyone has a better understanding about how to age successfully. And it is very possible for one to do so despite having the challenges and the limitations of aging that everyone would naturally go through. Thank you all for listening. With this, let's continue to manage our health as well as to look out for the well-being of those around us that are older, whether that's our parents or in our extended family or the people that we interact with around us. Thank you and take care, everyone.
And that is a big thank you to Yen Yu over there in Singapore with another wonderful episode of Health is Happiness. This is for people 50s and above, which I will be reaching there pretty soon. But it's not a big deal for me to hit my 50s. Not a big deal yet, I don't think. But either way, I hope you guys enjoy your Wednesday service tonight. Have an amazing and awesome week. Those of you guys in Korea, this is the last day of your holiday, so enjoy it as you can. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can